This is a Model M keyboard rescued from e-waste. The cord was cut off, keycaps were missing, and it was covered in grime. I knew if I could give it a thorough clean and replace the cord and keycaps, it would more than double in value. In order to properly clean a Model M keyboard, you first have to disassemble it. Here I'm using a keycap removal tool. This is used so keys come off evenly and don't break. The spacebar is a bit tricky. Make sure to handle it gently as it has a metal stabilizer that keeps it aligned. There's a lot of dirt and grime built up over the years, especially under the keys. There's coffee, hair, and even a baby cockroach. Now we have to take off the 4 screws at the back. This requires a special tool, not just any old screwdriver. What you actually need is a 5.5mm nut driver. All my local hardware stores did not stock them. I went to 3 different stores with no luck and ended up getting this as a part of a pack from my local electronics shop. Don't start following bad advice from forums suggesting that you burn an end of a pen or drill it out. There's a tool for this, and when you find it, the screws come off easily. Then there's that last screw, which doesn't want to come out. Once the screws are off, we can remove the top frame. As you can see, there's a lot of dust built up inside, so let's get cleaning. While you could try using a brush, most of the dirt and grime is stuck on, so we need to take a different approach. Of course, we need to remove all the creatures that made this keyboard their home. Imagine typing and having that spider jump out at you. Another method of cleaning is using compressed air. You can buy this in a can, but that didn't have any real effect, given the oily residue that was sticking to everything on the base. Now we have to remove the ground wire that helps prevent a static discharge. You'll notice a small screw and a nut underneath this metal backplate. Here's a tip. Use some pliers to hold the nut in place while you unscrew it, and it will come off easily. Before we take the circuit board off, we need to remove these 2 connectors. They slide out, but you have to be ultra careful not to tear or break them. Now the circuit board comes off and we see all the dust and dirt that was just sitting under that. It's just gross. I'm going to keep this cut cable to see if I can find a way of utilising that stopper. Q-tips and isopropyl alcohol work great. However, given the residue on the board, this took nearly 30 minutes. I'll let the keycaps soak in warm soapy water. This is just normal dishwashing liquid. Now to wash the keyboard covers. A toothbrush works great for scrubbing off that dirt, and I've also avoided doing the back of the keyboard to preserve that label. Now I hand scrub each keycap, which took another 30 minutes, and I set them aside to dry overnight in front of a dehumidifier. One thing to note is the water tends to get trapped in the keycaps. It takes a while to dry them completely, so I recommend shaking them out and leaving them to dry thoroughly overnight. I also sort the keycaps and stems for easy reassembly later. Once everything is dry, the PCB goes back. Now we need a replacement keyboard cable. I ordered this from Unicomp in the United States, and they made sure it had the correct attachments. This is the part number straight off the invoice. I still have to source another stopper for the case. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but we'll find out. As a temporary measure, I'm sticking down the cable with tape. I'm also sticking tape on the back so the cable doesn't pull through. Putting back these ribbon cables is tricky. You have to align them with a little teeth inside. They're so delicate, so just be careful and take your time. The main PCB goes back into the keyboard mounts. And the ground screws go back. Now I'm putting the keycaps back onto the top of the key stems. If you remember, that's why I sorted them out earlier during the drying process, because that makes it easier now. Now that everything's clean, we can reassemble that keyboard. Just make sure the springs are aligned properly when putting the keycaps back, otherwise you'll have keys that won't work. Be mindful of the position of the clip in the spacebar, which goes at the top. You'll hear a click when it goes in. The spacebar is always the hardest. Make sure the stabilizer is properly aligned before snapping it back into place. Now I've sourced some keycaps, a control key, a pause key and an F1 key, and they are all perfect. They're a great colour match, and you'd never know they came from another keyboard. The click of the Model M's keys is what makes this keyboard so iconic. Now we put the lid back on. All the screws go back in easily using this tool. The hex nut driver is not magnetic, so you need to drop the screws into the hole. Here's another tip. Don't over tighten the screws when reassembling. You don't want to break anything, and it's easier to remove them later if you need to get back into that keyboard. The IBM Model M was first introduced in the 1980s and is widely regarded as one of the best mechanical keyboards ever made. Its buckling spring mechanism gives it that distinct clicky feel that so many people love. It's built like a tank, and it stood the test of time, making it a favourite among vintage tech collectors.